Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Lorraine McGlynn. I'm a clinical psychologist and holotropic breathwork facilitator, and I'm making this video today to invite you to our upcoming holotropic breathwork workshop entitled Transforming Trauma, Moving Towards Wholeness. This will be held at Menla Mountain House and Dewa Spa in Phoenicia, New York in the Catskill Mountains. This is a double breathwork workshop, so there'll be 4 holotropic breathwork sessions, 2 as a breather and 2 as a sitter. In addition, we'll be having some additional psychoeducation offered the first evening on what is the title of that presentation going to be? How Holotropic Breathwork Facilitates Trauma Healing. And then we'll have our introductory talk also on the theory and practice of holotropic breathwork for those of you who are new to the work. This is, like I said, a double breathwork workshop, so there'll be 2 options to breathe on the mat and 2 options to be a sitter for your breather. With holotropic breathwork, for those of you who are not familiar with this work, it is a breathwork practice where you breathe deeper and faster to enter an expanded state of consciousness. The work is done in dyad, so as I said, there is a breather and a sitter. Sessions are typically 3 hours long, and they're done to a specialized kind of music set. There is an option for something called body work, which is essentially focused release work. So for example, if you're on the mat and you're feeling a strong sensation in the body, or some strong emotions, or you're feeling stuck, or nothing's happening, you can ask one of the facilitators to come over, and we have been trained in body work to work with those kinds of experiences on the mat to support you and move through those experiences. It's not like massage, it's really like just working with whatever arising during your session in a very respectful way. And again, at the first night I'll be spending a lot of time talking about all of the components of holotropic breathwork. There's also something called mandala drawing, so when your session is complete, you're invited to go over to our art space and draw a mandala, which is actually the Sanskrit name for mandala is circle or completion. So there'll be pieces of paper on a table with a circle in the center, and you're invited to use any of the art supplies that I provide. And it's basically just a visual representation of your session and sort of the first exit off the mat to start the integration process and kind of capture your experience while you were having your holotropic breathwork session. Some people do soul collage, and some people just like to journal or write on a piece of paper. So there's opportunities for all of those things after your session's complete. And then in the evenings we have a sharing circle, which is an opportunity to share with the group what had heart and meaning for your session, and also to continue the integration process and have an opportunity to have your experience be witnessed by the group if you choose to share. What else are we having? So there is going to be a sound bath that I will co-lead with one of my co-facilitators, Jeff Fitzpatrick, who is a wonderful person and dear friend who's coming over from Ireland to co-facilitate with me. We will be doing a sound bath together on Monday evening. Sarah Hiragoyen, who is another lovely human being, is coming in from England. She is actually a trauma specialist, and she will be doing leading the presentation on how holotropic breathwork facilitates trauma, and also on the topic of working with trauma. So that'll be a really informative presentation that she's going to be offering. I'm also going to be joined by Lisa Gilbert, MD, who is a psychiatrist, who also has extensive experience working with trauma, so she'll be talking a little bit about working with trauma. And then we'll have a dance party celebration on the last night, on Tuesday night, and it's really kind of an opportunity to move your body, clear some energy out, have some fun. So Jeff will be our techno DJ for that experience, so that's always a fun time. And then the last day we will be having a closing circle and another presentation on both integrating holotropic breathwork experiences and also how to integrate any trauma that may have come up in your session. Integration is not really something you do, it's an ongoing process, especially with trauma. So we'd like to provide as much information as we can for people and resources so that they have the opportunity to continue to integrate the material once the workshop is over. The way this particular workshop works is everyone arrives Sunday evening. We have dinner from 6 to 7. Then we have our opening circle and our introductory talk. We pick our partners for the workshop. And then Monday, we do 2 breathworks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, sharing circle, and then the sound bath. Tuesday, same schedule, breathwork in the morning, breathwork in the afternoon. And then we have our dance celebration in the evening. And as I said, then on Wednesday morning, we have our final presentation on trauma and integration. We have our closing circle, and then we have lunch, and then people typically depart around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So because this is a workshop on transforming trauma, we are going to keep this one a little bit smaller and limit it to probably 14 people. There are a few spaces available remaining for those of you who may be interested in joining us. Menla is a very amazing and beautiful retreat center in the Catskill Mountains. I've been going there for probably, maybe 15 years now. First as going to training modules for Groff Transpersonal Training to become a facilitator in this work, and then I've been offering my own workshops, Holotropic Breathwork workshops, for over 10 years now. I really have found that this work is extremely healing, especially for trauma. I think, when people have a trauma history, it can be really scary or difficult to go into those spaces. But in this setting, there's a lot of safety and support. And there's also this kind of sense of what I'll call agency in this work. So unlike perhaps, psychedelic work where you take a substance and then you're kind of on a journey until the substance has worn off, in holotropic breathwork, you are in control the whole time. So if something's happening on the mat that's uncomfortable for you, that you need support for, you can certainly ask for that and receive it, and you can also say stop if you don't want to continue whatever's happening. So I think the sense of agency for people with trauma is really important, and also essential in this work is the idea of not only safety but support, that there is support available to you, that you do not have to go through this alone. You have not only the support of your sitter, but also of the group and also of the facilitators, which can sometimes give people the courage, because I think it does take courage to do this work, to really surrender and go into this process. The other thing that I think is essential to mention quickly about holotropic breath work is that there's this idea of permission giving in this work. So as a psychologist, quite honestly, there are limitations what people can do in a individual therapy session because of boundaries, because of ethics, because of the therapeutic relationship and all those other important things. However, in holotropic breathwork, we really are giving people permission to do whatever they need to do to heal. So, or express what they're having, what their experience is on the mat. So for example, if someone needs to scream, they can scream. If they want to cry, they can cry. If they want to move around on the mat, move their body and clear something out somatically, they can shake their hands, move their body, they can dance. They can really, essentially, you can do whatever you need to do to heal. The only guidelines we have around that is that, we don't want you to hurt yourself. We don't want you to intentionally hurt the facilitators. And of course, we don't want you to hurt the property or the facility, but we will keep you safe. So the idea is to give yourself permission to kind of surrender and trust that everything is going to be safe and supportive for you, so that you can allow your body to express things. Stan Groff, who is the originator of this work, often said during the training that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that any experience that's fully expressed becomes its funeral pyre, which means when you can fully experience and express something, it gives it an opportunity to discharge in some way and to begin to heal. So we really like to give people the opportunity to really have permission to express and experience whatever is organically coming up from within them. The other thing is that permission giving and respectful too. So it's a really respectful process. The other thing I'll say is there's this concept of this work, in this work, of the inner healer. So the inner healer is sort of this part of everybody, this innate healing wisdom that is within each person. You might call it your deeper self or your source, or the wise divine part of you. So the inner healer is that part of you that knows what you need to heal. So it's kind of like your own inner doctor or your own inner healer. It's almost like, when you get a cut, your body knows what to do to heal the cut. You don't have to do anything, maybe put a Band-Aid on it, but your body is eventually going to, send all those T cells to the cut and create inflammation and heal that wound. And it's kind of the same way with holotropic breath work. It's about going into those, healing our deepest wounds, essentially, was the name of a book that Stan wrote about holotropic breath work. And it's about trusting that inner healing mechanism that we all have within us, that is what is going to guide your session. So again, unlike traditional psychotherapy and other practices, there's none of us on the outside telling you what you need to heal. So none of the facilitators are telling you what to do on the mat or what you need to do to heal yourself. We're just basically supporting the process, because honestly, we don't know what you need to heal. We're trusting that your own inner healing wisdom is going to guide your session and bring up in your session what is seeking healing in that particular session on that particular day for that particular person. And then we're just going to support that as much as we can so that the person can have the fullest experience that they have the possibility to have. So we trust the inner healer, which is again one of the unique components of holotropic breath work. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the other thing that's kind of unique about this work is this idea of amplifying things on the mat. So, I know, as for myself and basically working with people in therapy for 25 years, the human tendency when something's coming up that's uncomfortable is that we don't want to feel it. So you can distract yourself. You can use all kinds of defenses against feeling what you want to feel, because nobody, I think, really wants to feel pain or discomfort in their lives. But sometimes allowing yourself to go into those dark, deep, difficult spaces is where the